a woman wants to feel desired by a man. In my world, you're not a man just because you're a certain age. You're not a man because you make a certain amount of money. You're a man because of the character inside of yourself, and you actually know yourself, and you have a very strong being and a very strong groundedness to yourself. There's a lot of factors to it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, the man that's flexing if you're watching in video, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, besides flexing, how you doing?
Doing great.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Looking after the Swans.
Looks like you need to hit the weight room a little bit more, bro.
Hey, this is massive. It's all about relativity, right? Where I used to be.
It's so, what's so funny, just made me think about it is, you travel all over the world and you're leading men, right? Business owners, highly successful people, and they look up to you like no other, right? And it's funny when people see us interact, you and I, we're like brothers. So we're constantly poking and pushing each other and joking around. And the look on some of the men's faces who either don't know you or don't know me and they see us interact, it's like, what, you're talking to Tim that way? It's just funny. It's funny to see that interaction.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Well, yeah. You know what? I never notice either how the guys are around me, obviously, because I'm just, doing my thing, right? I guess you have to look from the outside in, but I never notice it. So it's always funny for me whenever I hear stuff like that. It's just, I'm just me, right? Just Doug, but it's interesting. I'll bring Amelia one time. Like, Amelia, just watch this. Watch me watch.
These guys look up to you. Why don't you?
Yeah. Take a leaf out of their book, Amelia.
Yeah, too funny. So, Tim, what do you have on tap for us today?
Well, if you give me a chance, I'll tell you.
Well,
rather than interrupting. So, I have been looking through the applications that we have been getting for the men that want to come into the program. And there's one that really stood out to me because I think it's, I've heard this a few times from the guys before. It's really poignant, in my opinion. And that is what this guy has said. The question is, what is happening in your marriage, business, or life that makes it important for you to get help with this right now? And he said, my wife and I are growing apart. As the kids get older, we have less connection, need, and willingness to love and serve each other. Wow.
Common, really common. I mean, I remember, so in my early 20s, my 20s, and into my mid 30s, I ran a very high-end personal training studio and wellness center in Santa Barbara, California, right near Montecito, which is, Montecito's Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, tons of actors and actresses live, but also some of the wealthiest people in the world. So I had people, I had clients that, had multiple homes all over the world, were Kuwaiti. I had clients who were some of the top hedge fund managers in the world, et cetera, et cetera. And I remember distinctly several times, but I remember the first time distinctly when I had a woman, we'll just call her Anne, and came up to me, and her last child was graduating high school. And she goes, Doug, I'm leaving him. I never wanted this. We don't know each other. We don't have any things in common. I've invested my whole life into the kids. Now the kids are leaving, so I'm going to leave him.
Common as well, right?
Super common. This is the first time I heard it, right? But, if anybody's been in my job at the time, I got paid very well, but I got very deep relationships with these people, and they would tell me everything. Like I was a therapist at and here I am in my early 20s. And I remember her telling me this, and she was going to travel. She'd been traveling abroad. She'd been kind of prepping, and she already had got a flat overseas in Europe that was going to be her own, and she had an exit plan. And the reason she had that, Tim, is the exact thing that this guy is going through is as the kids got older, her and her spouse grew apart. And what's worse, which happens to a lot of men we talk to or come through, and a lot of men in the Facebook group, is her husband had no idea. Clueless. Absolutely clueless. I knew him as well, and he was blindsided by this. completely blindsided. But she had made up her mind because, the kid was 18 going off to university, the last one out of the house. And she looked around and she didn't see anything for her anymore. She didn't want to be just his wife or known as his wife, and a very wealthy family, very well to do. And this is where they were at. And so, yeah, kid graduated, kid went off to university, and she moved to the UK. I won't tell you where she moved. She didn't go to the UK. She moved to Europe, somewhere in Southern Europe. And yeah, and the rest is history. So for this guy that we're talking about, or the guy that got the application for, hopefully he's listening to this. First of all, I don't know where your application is going to go. If this is you that wrote in, but if you are approved and you get to go to the activation method and the alpha reset, you're solid. Just know that listening to this, that your question is going to be answered tenfold over, and you're not going to have to worry about this. However,
providing it does the work.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you'll never make it to the alpha reset if you don't do the work in the activation method. And you'll never graduate the alpha reset if you don't do the work, right?
True.
But we've only had one guy that I know of that we haven't passed through the alpha reset. That hasn't actually shown up at one point through. I don't know. Are there any more guys, Tim, that I'm not thinking of? Yeah. Just one guy. And he came back, which was great, right? He realized the mistake he made. So anyway, if you're in this situation, you're listening to this and you're like, well, crap, that's me too. Growing up, the kids are getting older. My wife and I are getting further and further apart. There's a lot of things you can do. You're in salvage mode, right? You can salvage this. And one thing I always like to talk about with you guys, Tim, and I want to hear your side of this too. Maybe we can go back and forth. Is look, you've changed look back at when you got married, right? That your wedding day. Are you the same guy? No, you're older, right? You're 5, 10, 15 years older at this point. Odds are your interests have changed, right? You don't listen to the same music. You don't go to the same places. You don't do the same things. You've changed. Your interests have changed. Your political views have probably changed. Your interest in finance has probably changed. The risks you're willing to take have changed. But have you asked your wife about what's changed for her? Have you had deep conversations with getting to know who she is now, right? Do you know who you are? Do you really know who you are? Are your thoughts and decisions that you're making actually your own, or are they a byproduct of billions of dollars of media spend to formulate those ideas for you? And again, these same things, this money that's going into marketing is going to change your wife's perception about who she is. Who is she now? And my guess is you don't know. Who's her best friend? What do they talk about? What books is she reading? What shows does she watch when you're not around? What kind of porn is she into? Have you talked about that with her? She's watching it. Good chance that she's taking a look, guys. If you are, she is, right? So what's going on in those areas? And that's the first thing you want to establish is who is she as a person and what's the commonalities?
I was speaking with Arthur again about this particular thing. And he was saying that in the marriage or in the relationship, so often the parents put the kids first, because it's easy to do, right? But the way it should be is it should be the man and the wife come first on their own.
That's how it is in my house.
Then the marriage comes first.
Second.
And then the kids come first.
Third.
God, first. But yeah, so you guys come first on your own. There's the marriage second, kids third. But obviously, I was saying this to Amelia. I was discussing it with Amelia, and she said, "Yeah, but it's easier said than done, right? Maternal instinct and paternal instinct. You're going to want to put the kids first. However, like you've said,
well, here's why. So let me explain. Come on." This is a topic that Arthur and I are passionate about. Arthur's is the head coach, the powerful man, runs the activation method groups, and all the other coaches that are coming through. And I know you're passionate about it too, Tim. But what happens is the parents, when they're not getting love from their significant other, happens the most from the mom, right? The mom is getting what she thinks of as unconditional love from the children because the children need her. Right? The husband doesn't need her. So she's getting her certainty, her significance, her validation from the kids, and her role as a mother. So she pours all of this energy into the kids, all of her love, and doesn't give any to the man. Sound familiar, guys? Right?
Kind of like having dogs, right?
Yeah, could be. And some of the guys are doing the same thing, right? They'll turn all their attention, usually to business, but then back into the family, they turn it to the kids. Because again, they're getting their unconditional love, all these things they think are unconditional. And then boom, kids get older. Guess what happens? Kids don't need you anymore. They leave. 18, they're out of the house, right? Nowadays, 20s, right? But they leave. They're out of the house. And then where are you going to get your unconditional love? Where are you going to get those things that you need to be fulfilled with? Because you've turned it all into the kids, which actually really screws your kids up, by the way. Right? There's studies that prove this. And so then they look around and where am I going to get this from? And oftentimes they look outside the marriage at another relationship.
Yeah. And, I can imagine it is easier said than done, right? To put the kids third instead of first.
For sure. Amelia's right, as always.
But it's key, right? It's like, so we talk a lot about when the guys come to us, their first territory, the foundation is their business. That's where they focus.
Yep.
Then wealth. Then if they have anything left, it'll be relationships. But usually they struggle to have anything left for relationships. And above that, if they do have anything left, it's health and then self. And then we flip that on its head, don't we, when we work with the guys? So it'll be self first. So they're able to be in a position of empowerment, knowing who they are and what they want. Then health, so they've got the energy to actually be able to go about their day and get home on an evening instead of being burnt out. They actually have energy and fuel in the tank to be able to connect with the wife, have a conversation, play with the kids, all that kind of stuff. And then it's the relationship, the wealth, and business. So it's flipped on its head. One's inside out, one's outside in. So the thing with this is it's the same with in a relationship. You guys have got to be able to focus on yourselves first so you can do the work on yourself. So your cup can be full, your cup can be overflowing, and it can flow into one another's rather than trying to pour from a cup that's empty, right? What are you smirking at?
I'll tell you after this.
With you when you're just smirking at me.
I'm just a happy person, Tim. Keep going.
Yeah, bullshit. So ideally your cups would be overflowing, so it'd flow into one another. And then obviously you've got the marriage, so go on date nights without talking about business or without talking about the kids. Get to know one another. Play one another's world. And as a guy, take the lead on that date night. Plan something. Do something. And, if you have that as a standard, we spoke about standards on the last episode. If you have that as a standard, then the chances are you guys are going to grow as individuals. And as a guy, you're going to grow in ways that isn't just about business. Your wife's going to grow in ways as well. And then you'll be able to, come together and grow together as well, and then give the best to the kids. So I don't know, I'm sure that'll look different for every couple. But if you've got that as the standard or benchmark, and I imagine, Doug, that, it's easier to do this at certain times in the marriage than others, maybe not. You've got kids, obviously. So,
hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but I wanted to ask you a question. Do you ever feel like something's just missing? Like there's something more out there and you just can't put your finger on it? I totally get it. Go over right now to thepowerfulman.com/freedom to discover the system that other businessmen just like you are using. We've included 10 case studies, 10 men just like you who have found the solution and have found their way on their path. And we want to share that with you. Go over to thepowerfulman.com/freedom right away. Now let's get back to the show.
For sure. Yeah. So, it's easier for a lot of things, different seasons, right? Different seasons for different reasons. So your business or your health or other things are going to affect this. But for this, and you're spot on, Tim, I can hear in the guys' voices, well, I've got kids and we don't have time to do date night, which I get, right? Because I have a toddler. We have no support externally of people who pay to come in and help us, no family support. But you do throw a blanket on the floor and do a picnic. right? Get some old pictures of your wife when you first got married and throw them on the TV screen. Like that's what we do at our house. We have pictures rotating. Google Photos, get a Chromecast. That's what I do. It's easy. But I'll throw up pictures there all the time. And so my kid, I have one child now, he sees, mom and dad kissing and mom and dad hiking together and doing things together. And that's going to be the foundation for his relationship. Then also show your spouse, your wife, something special, right? We have something that we do every night. And I talk to my wife, like, what are the highlights of your day? Right. So I get to know what's going on in her world. Ask what books she's reading. Bonus points is something that I really try to do is I read the books my wife's reading, even if I'm not really interested in them. Right. Because now I can get into her world and what she's doing. Now, granted, I like speed read these books, guys. I'm not going to lie. I throw them on Audible at 3.5x. But I get some points and topics of where her mindset is. I've got, really do this. So for this guy that's wrote this in, first of all, I feel for you, man. I really do. I get what you're going through. And it's time to turn things around. It's time to take ownership. And you're doing it. First of all, by filling out the application, you're going to end up having a conversation with somebody on our team. It's just going to be a coach, right? So it's not a sales conversation at all. We don't do that. But hopefully they're going to give you some pointers. And if you go through the program, you're going to have a totally different viewpoint. And on top of that, you can start today. Start by putting yourself first, your wife second, and then your kids, and see what that's like. What is your wife's love language? What does she like to do? What does she want to do? What are her desires? Keep a desire list. That's sexy. What do you desire to do? It doesn't have to always be sexual, right? It can be food, it can be drink, but it could be sexual. What are her desires? Does she want to travel? And if she wants to travel, where does she want to go? This doesn't mean, guys, you have to take her there. You just need to be in her fantasies, in her conversations, be in her dream. Be a dream supporter, not a dream killer, right? And show your kids that. Give her a little pat in the butt. She's in the kitchen or she's walking or she's talking to the kids. Just walk by and give her a little pat in the butt, a little squeeze. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Keep it fresh. Keep it fresh. Stop it. But yeah, she's saying stop it, but she knows you want her. I guarantee for this man, if I talk to his wife does not feel desired at all. No. Not desired. A woman wants to feel desired by a man. Now, so in my world, you're not a man just because you're a certain age. You're not a man because you make a certain amount of money, right? You're a man because of the character inside of yourself, and you actually know yourself, and you have a very strong being and a very strong groundedness to yourself. There's a lot of factors to it. So for this guy that's listening to him, like I said, one of the things I would do is really get in her world. Really get in her world and understand from every angle, what is it that she likes? What does she likes to do? What are her hopes? What are her dreams? What are her fears? Rather than just coming home and talking, hey, tough day at work. Yeah, I was going through the finances. What'd you spend on Amazon the other day? Well, it was $122, or what'd you buy it? Why'd you go to the hair salon for 50 pounds or whatever it may be? Those are all negative talks that are going to put distance between you. Why not have a positive talk and talk about what's right? Talk about your hopes and dreams. If you have to go back and relive the past to hash that out for a little bit, go for it. Bring out those wedding photos. Talk about amazing times. What was your favorite trip, dear? Like, oh, honey, what was your favorite trip we did? If we were to do something, by the end of in 2020, what would be something that would just light you up that would be amazing just for you and I to do, or just by yourself? Find out. You don't have to include yourself in her dreams. And I think a lot of us guys make that mistake, Tim. A lot of us guys, right? You have dreams, things that you want to do individually. Could be race a professional car. It could be golf, one of the best golf courses in the world, all kinds of things that aren't going to involve your spouse. Guess what? She's got the same desires.
Yeah.
Have nothing to do with you.
Yeah. As hard as it is to believe.
Yeah, exactly.
She'd be nothing without me.
Yeah.
Focus. It springs to mind how to save your marriage without talking about it, right? You just listed a whole bunch of things, how to reconnect with your wife and have that deep level of intimacy. And, we talk a lot about it being marriage, right? But we know the reality that if there's like this guy, for example, with his marriage and him and his wife growing apart, that will be affecting his business.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, usually the guys then wake up with a foggy mind, go into the office, it's productive, they avoid decisions, they avoid confrontation, they finish the day feeling like, well, holy crap, I've not got anything done today. And just imagine the toll that takes on the business day after day, week after week. You can only be there for that long, for so long before things start to slip through the cracks and it crumbles. So, although we're talking about marriage, I want to be very clear that it ripples across every other area.
100%. 100%. It carries in. So for this guy, I can pretty much tell you that his health has gone to the side. Now, the only reason his health might be good is if he's thinking about exiting and he's starting to work out to be attractive to another woman. His bank account has definitely dwindled dramatically, and he's probably working harder than he's ever worked, right?
Yes.
In time and energy, not in results.
No, he'll be working longer hours. He'll be getting home and having a glass of wine or a cocktail to try and switch off, and waking up, not sleeping very well, waking up, feeling like crap.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cups of coffee. Get through the day. Probably doesn't have any close friends outside of his, his friends are going to be his kids, his kids' friends' parents type thing, or his wife's. Doesn't know what his wife wants or does. So like when holidays come around and you can want to buy a gift, he's buying the quintessential gift or whatever's on sale from Amazon's Black Friday, right? Or whatever might be going on. So it doesn't have to be this way at all. And it's going to dribble over. And just like, but the same way is when you fix it, fix it not the right word. When you do a course correction, it's going to apply positively to all of these, right? You're able to reclaim and reset and reclaim, said the better way, reset and reclaim who you are. It's like putting a reset button, right? If it went for those Windows people, Control, Alt, Delete, right? You just Control, Alt, Delete who you are, your personal, and you reset, reboot, and you're up and running better than you ever have been in your life. But it starts with those small, simple steps.
I'm just looking here. I got a message from one of the guys in Brotherhood today. Just to paint the scene, he joined the program back in November now, April of this year. And his marriage was on the rocks. He was avoiding taking action in his business. It was stagnating. He was feeling guilty because a lot of his actions, he could see them affecting his kids. And anyway, he messages me today. I just say, hey, how's it going? I'll miss out his name. I'm great, thanks. Just busy moving offices. However, I'm living life like a powerful man with a relaxed confidence and really enjoying every second. Working longer hours than I have been. I mean, he cut his hours by 2/3, so it's not difficult for him to be working more than 10 hours a week. Working longer hours than I have been, but it's required right now, and I'm enjoying it. Next week is also looking good, and we have an amazing family time planned for the weekend. All is lovely with me and his wife, too.
I know who that is. Mr. P. I'll call him Mr. P.
Yeah, Mr. P.
What a lovely man. That guy's changed his whole world, and he changed it because of what he saw. If I wasn't at his Alpha Reset, what I heard is he had such an epiphany, I think on day 2, that he wanted to get up and leave.
They won.
Yeah.
They won. He's like, I need to get out of it. I need to get back home now.
Yep.
But the reason why I read that out is just to show that, once you actually, the domino effect, right? It can work for you or it can work against you. The choice is yours, really.
Yeah. And so anyway, kudos to this guy if he's listening for stepping up and filling out the application. If any of you other guys that are out there in the similar state, go over to thealphareset.com and you got to go through a video process. We don't take everybody. We're 4 business family men. Fill out the application and it'll be reviewed, and one of the coaches will reach out to you and have a conversation with you. And that was his application. So kudos to him because he's on the right path. He took action. That's the scariest and hardest thing for all men, and to do. So he's definitely, assuming he's able to go through the program and play full out, he's set. That's not going to be an issue for him. He's going to be just like Mr. P that you just read in his life, which is amazing. And for the rest of the guys, take action now. Get into the woman of your wife's world, like the woman in your life. What is it she likes? You know, as Tim said so eloquently, put yourself first, your marriage second,
Marriage
kids third.
first. Kids first. Yourself first, your marriage first, and your kids first.
Just do it all. Who are you? So it's a great way for you guys to get started, but also, you know, figure it out, right? When you dated your wife, when you were actually trying to get in her pants and you were dating her, right? The reality was you knew all kinds of things about her. You were taking her to exciting places, doing adventurous things with her that were exciting, and you've lost it. I know you've lost it. You've lost it along the way. You sit at home, same friggin' TV shows, you know, at 8:00, you guys are in front of the TV, you probably with a cocktail in your hand, maybe her as well. And you got your phone, looking at your phone half the time the show's on or movie's on. And then you go to bed. Maybe you have, you know, dispassionate sex, which is really masturbating with somebody at the same time. And you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, have some coffee, go to work. Bye, dear. You know, it's that. And it's a crappy lifestyle, and you know it is. So have the balls to make the change. Have the balls to pull the trigger. As I always say, stop complaining if you're not willing to make the change. Just stop. No one wants to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Tim doesn't want to hear it. Your spouse, your friends don't want to hear it. Make the change be the action. Tim, anything else you have for this guy?
No, I think we've given enough insight there and many action points too.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen, that's it for us. It's another wrap. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Powerful Man Show. Of course, if you want more information, go over to thealphareset.com, where you can also see a great video by Tim, get a couple trainings, and have the opportunity to fill out that application and get on a phone call with one of our coaches. Until next time, make sure you're taking action on any insights that you got from these podcasts. Do not just listen to a podcast without taking action. It's just a waste of your time, and life is short, so stop wasting time. Until then, we'll see you on another episode of The Powerful Man Show.